we go. It's 11 a.m. and I'd like to call to order the public hearing to receive public comment on Assembly Bill 2561, status of job vacancies. Before we begin, please note this meeting is being recorded. Members of the public are encouraged to listen to the meeting by dial into 415-569-6446 for the audio of the meeting. If you would like to provide public comment at today's public hearing, please call 415-569-6446 and let the facilitator know you would like to speak. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Give me 1 second. I'm just making sure that we are online, confirming that our online folks can hear us at least. Okay. All right. Thank you for confirming. All right. I'm going to go roll call, starting with Director Devlin.
Here.
Guardia.
Here.
Garbarina.
Here.
Giudice.
Here.
Hardiman.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Maston.
Here.
Moulton Peters. Zatson. Parr.
Here.
Parrish.
Here.
Rodoni.
Here.
Sauter.
Present.
Snyder. Zatson. Here.
Here.
Second Vice President Rabbit.
Here.
First Vice President Hill.
Here.
And President Cochran.
Here.
Thank you. Your members here today.
As a reminder, the purpose of today's public hearing is to receive public comment after staff provides a presentation about vacant positions here at the district. Madam Secretary, please summarize the public outreach efforts for this public hearing.
Thank you. In compliance with district policy, the public outreach was undertaken as follows. A notice of public hearing was posted to the district's website on April 28th. Legal notices were published in the San Francisco Chronicle, Marin Independent Journal, and Santa Rosa Press Democrat on Thursday, May 1st and May 15th. Legal notices were posted on the Lavaw's website, referenced in social media posts and weekly reports from May 1st through May 23rd. E-blasts were sent to customers on May 19th and posted on Facebook, X, and that was on May 19th, and then LinkedIn again on May 19th. The presentation was also made available in Spanish as per the district's language implementation plan.
Attorney Sherman, does this public outreach describe when the district secretary meet the district's legal requirement for calling the public hearing?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the Attorney's Office confirms that the staff outreach met all of the legal requirements for the public hearing process.
Madam Secretary, has there been any correspondence relative to the proposal?
We did not receive anything as of this morning at 9 o'clock before we started our first meeting. We received no comments relative to the topic of this public hearing, and any further comments that we might receive after the public hearing will be presented as a staff report or presented in June as a report. And if necessary, any recommendations at that time will also be presented to the appropriate committee.
Okay. Before proceeding with the public hearing, District General Manager Kelly Hopper will provide us with a presentation. Kelly, will now hand things over to you.
Oh, Kelly?
Yeah.
So what we're going to, yeah. Are you ready?
I am ready whenever you tell me I'm ready.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Just want to make sure you're ready. All right. And nothing on the presentation board. Right. Okay. Thank you.
And President Cochran, if you agree, I would like to make some initial comments and then maybe have the general manager fill in anything that I may have missed that might be important.
Please. Thank you.
Good morning. As we came forward last month to talk about the new regulation 82561, which is the regulation that requires public agencies to have a public hearing to talk about vacancies. And there are certain requirements that are required that were outlined in the staff report. I'll just touch on a few of them. One is we have to present the status of vacancies of any bargaining unit with our public agency, as well as any retention or recruitment efforts that might be impacting our ability to meet those targets, those vacancy targets. Also, it requires us to make a presentation to the board prior to the adoption of the annual budget, which is next month, which is why we're coming forward this month, to identify during the hearing process if there are any policies, procedures, or changes that need to be made to the way the district handles its recruitment and retention processes. And then finally, it allows bargaining units to make a presentation on any of these topics to the board at the time. So one of the things is as part of the highlight is any bargaining unit that meets or exceeds 20% vacancy. The district here, we went ahead and calculated every bargaining unit, and we've listed it in the staff report. And going through, as you can see, there are only 2 units, and that's where I'll spend my time talking about those 2 units. 2 units that exceed the 20% vacancy. One is our electricians, Local 6, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, our Union 6, which has some vacancies, and then also our Amalgamated Transit, Local 1575, our bus operators. So let me first address the electrical workers. That is a unit of only 13. And at the time of the hearing, we had a last-minute resignation as well as a short-term retirement that took place. So when you figure we had 2 vacancies and now we're over the 20%, I'm happy to report that as of June the 3rd, 2 of the 3 vacancies will be filled. This is a very complex, it's hard for us to recruit. I shouldn't say it's hard. It's challenging for us to recruit because of our radio system requirements. So the life cycle of a hiring for that tends to be a little bit longer because of us needing some specialized skill set. But we're really, really excited that as of Monday, a couple weeks, we'll be able to be back under that 20%. Now, let me spend a little bit of time about the bus operators, and you heard, if you were here yesterday in the budget meeting, you heard a little bit about this, but I'll go into it. We often hear our general manager talk about this. Our primary source of revenues is our bridge tolls. And the bridge tolls fund our bridge operations, and then to the extent as necessary, they substantially fund our transit operations. Our second largest source of income is our transit tolls. So our largest source is, as Dennis was just mentioning in our board meeting today, is still lower than pre-pandemic levels. In fact, we're about, 15 to 25% below the market. So that has affected our ability we need to more judiciously use our resources to be able to fund the bridge and also bus and ferry. So as you all have seen over the last several years, staff has been bringing some aggressive cost-saving measures to you to ensure that we are reducing our expenses to maintain our financial stability. That has also included offering commute service that meets demand. So we have reduction in commute service. So right now we're operating about 20% less commute service, and that's because demand has necessitated that. So while we acknowledge that we're operating less service, we also acknowledge that we still have 280 positions on our position control list. We have been intentional about not filling those because we've been filling them unnecessarily because of demand. However, we've also been equally intentional about leaving them in the budget in hopes that, as Dennis was talking about earlier, as the world opens up in some of our city centers, that the demand will necessitate the ability to add positions. And that allows the organization to be nimble and quickly address any change in demand without having to go through a lengthy process of coming back to the board and asking for additional positions. In looking at our attractiveness in the market, so there's a couple things I just want to highlight. We go into greater detail in the report, but as you all know, this board about 12 years ago adopted a policy that every 3 years that this board will conduct a comprehensive compensation survey of our staff. And that really is to ensure that we're staying competitive in the market. And the market is our region. So it's usually within this five county region by public transit agencies typically. And then our most recent one was I believe it was last year we came to the board, and then subsequently you approved a pay philosophy or a policy. We share this information with our bargaining units. So every time we do a compensation study, we will share the findings with them. That typically is in front of a bargaining cycle. So that allows them to have the information as we go to the table to negotiate. And then in terms of our outreach program, we're actually quite proud of this, and you've heard about this in our rules committee several times, that we're really active and intentional also about apprentice programs, pre-apprentice programs, trying to do career fairs, outreach programs into underutilized or underserved groups. And then having, we try to also work with our local universities and colleges and high schools to try to get people to understand the value and the attractiveness of working here at the district. As Amara mentioned, comments will be received through today, and we will be coming back to the board next month with any findings. Thank you. Dennis?
Just two things. The IBEW Local 6 represents electronic technicians and electricians. Electricians are relatively more straightforward hiring in today's environment. It's the electronic technicians because of the radio skill set that we sometimes struggle. But as Kelly said, we have two folks joining us on June 3rd, so we're excited about that. I just want to emphasize for the public listening in that we are primarily self-funded, and Kelly covered that. And downtown San Francisco today has a 37% office vacancy rate. Today, there are 150,000 fewer people in downtown San Francisco each weekday. So demand for our services is not there. So we're running less bus and we are running less ferry service by design. It is bad for the environment, and it's bad for our finances to run empty buses or empty ferry trips. So today, our average occupancy or ridership per bus trip or ferry trip is about the same as it was pre-pandemic. That having been said, there's a lot less travel in the corridor from Sonoma into San Francisco. We're fortunate that we now pick up and drop off in San Francisco, even though arguably that's not our primary focus because we're using bridge tolls to get cars off the bridge. But a third of our bus ridership today is folks that get on and off in San Francisco. And so it's just important to recognize that we have less demand. We have chosen not to delete all the vacant positions associated with our transit system because we're optimistic. We hold out hope that San Francisco will bounce back, and when it bounces back, we will want to bring more people on. But we continue to add back service incrementally as customers return. We add bus and ferry trips, or we delete bus and ferry trips where we see customers not returning when we try things. And we just want to assure the public that we're spending their dollars wisely and that we have service out there that meets customer demand. And we look forward to customer demand growing as it has been slowly growing these past few months. And with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments by staff? Kelly?
Thanks, Kelly. I'm going to invite Shane Weinstein to come forward and also present the materials. I believe you have a copy in front of you. There should be two handouts that were given out to you.
Good morning.
Thank you. But I want to also let you know that we were able to work with the marketing department and get it posted online for anyone who's on the phone and wants to follow along. Those documents are posted on www.goldencave.org.
Yeah, I just want to give props to whoever puts together these packets because I'm a bus operator and there is no way I do these packets. So in front of you is a very, very simple stripped down, a few slides and then something that I'm going to talk about here. Good morning, directors. I'm Shane Weinstein, president of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1575. I represent all the frontline operators of Amalgamated Transit. I am here to address the staffing and pension crisis that affects not only our workers, but also the sustainability of our entire transit system. With the recent passage of AB 2561, pension transparency and sustainability are more important than ever. And yet the bus division, our division, is the only group in the entire district at over 20% vacancy rate. In fact, that's over 30%. Chronic understaffing. The district has budgeted 280 bus operator positions for fiscal year 24-25. Despite that, leadership confirmed just days ago in negotiations that they are capping that at 190 operators. Even that number is theoretical because, as recent data shows, actual staffing has remained in the 150s and the 170s. Why budget for 280 if the district has no intention of filling more than 190? The consequences of a vacancy rate are chronic understaffing. It's not just a logistics issue. It undermines service reliability. It leads to inhumane scheduling practices where 68% of the operators are required to do 100% of the work. It creates long-term recruitment challenges, and our operators are willing to work. They want the hours, but the inhumane schedules really take a toll. Pension health. in crisis. The ATU pension fund is currently funded at $83 million out of $185 million. That's a 45% funding level. There should be extremely large alarm bells going off at the district right now. The crisis is directly connected to contributions and vacancies. The pension is funded through employer and employee contributions. Every unfilled position represents a missed contribution. When you are short by over 100 operators year after year, the math catches up. District narrative on pension spiking. General Manager Mulligan has repeatedly stated that the bus operators are spiking their pensions. I want to be very clear here. You can only spike your pension if you're working your days off. And Golden Gate Transit, day off work has been required for decades simply to maintain service. This is not a scheme by operators. It's a management failure to contribute and staff properly. If the district filled the 280 positions at budgets, there would be no need for day off working and no spiking. Recent negotiation revelations. At our most recent bargaining session, district leadership confirmed the staffing cap is firmly set at 190 despite the 280 positions. They believe the pension crisis can only be solved if the bus operators contribute $24 million over the course of 30 years, which equates to $800,000 annually in the form of reduced benefits. Why? Because of what they call an early retiree subsidy. Their complaint? Currently, a 50-year-old and a 60-year-old retiree with the same years of service receive the same benefit. Mr. Mulligan believes the younger retiree should receive less because they may live longer. Why should bus operators be forced to give up $24 million in benefits when the district's failure to contribute and hire is what led to the pension crisis in the first place? Just to be clear, this is illegal. The golden rule still exists in California, meaning that if you take away someone's benefit, you must replace it with something equitable or better. District leadership taking this type of position not only puts the plan in danger of being sued by the members who had their benefits cut, but it also puts the trustees on both sides in danger of being sued. Since Mr. Mulligan became the general manager, not one time has the district paid the actuarially determined contribution. Couple this with depleted staffing, and we have ourselves a major crisis. Regional wage disparity, as you will see. Another critical factor hindering recruitment at Golden Gate Transit's lower pay compared to neighboring transit agencies. Samtrans, $42 an hour. VTA, $43 an hour. SFMTA Muni, $46 an hour. Golden Gate Transit, just under $37 an hour. Golden Gate Transit operators are among the lowest paid at the top step. In a high-cost region like the Bay Area, prospective operators will understandably go where they can earn the most. The wage gap makes it even harder to hire and retain staff, especially when combined with capped staffing and demands for benefit give-backs. Key questions for the board. Why are bus operators being asked to give up $24 million in earned benefits? Why should we pay for a pension crisis caused by the district's own failure to contribute staff properly? Would any of this be necessary if the district simply filled its budgeted positions? How does Golden Gate Transit expect to recruit competitively when it offers the lowest top pay among regional agencies? This isn't just about math. It's about fairness, accountability, and the long-term viability of our system. We are calling on this board to fully staff the 280 positions that have already been budgeted. Abandon the misguided demand that workers give back $24 million in benefits. Raise operator wages to compete with regional transit agencies and work with labor, not against it, to stabilize the system and protect the pension. Golden Gate Transit cannot run without the operators. It's time for the leadership to treat the workforce as the essential foundation that it is. I just want to go over a couple things. I know that Kelly just went over a couple things. I want to be very clear. I'm glad that the pre-apprentice system is around. I'm all in 100% with it. Unfortunately, because of California budgets, we went from 2 classes to 1 class. That's not going to be producing maybe even half of what it was going to. And I just need to be very, very clear here. The district is waiting for the phone to ring to put buses out there. Okay, I don't care what's being said. We need to bring that 24 back in Fairfax. It has to come back. Okay? Just like in Field of Dreams, they said if you build it, they will come. If you put a bus out there, they will ride it. Okay? I appreciate everyone's time here. Have a great weekend. I'll take questions if they need them, but I would assume, is this a question and answer? Is this a public?
This is a public hearing. And we're expecting.
I understand. Yeah, it's public. What I meant by that was public speaking. So is there back and forth, or do I go sit down?
You may go sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Dennis, would you comment on that, please?
Yeah, I'll just say a few things for the record. Mr. Weinstein's written words and spoken words talks about how our current staffing level undermines service reliability. To a customer, service reliability is, does the bus always show up and is it on time? And for service reliability, I just want to say for the record that we are unprecedented in our service reliability. Each weekday, we offer 505 bus trips, and it's been months since we've missed a single bus trip. So from the customer's perspective, our service reliability is as good as anyone in the nation. Our buses are also on time. A couple months ago, we had a presentation from staff where we polled our customers and our non-customers, and we did focus groups. And you may recall that our surveyor was amazed at how highly rated our bus and ferry systems are, where the vast majority, over 90%, rated us a 4 or 5 on a 1 to 5 scale, unlike any other agency they poll in the Bay Area. So any statements about service reliability or the quality of our service are patently misleading to our customers and those listening. And if you're listening, you haven't ridden our bus or ferry, I encourage you to do so because you'll see what the results are. So there is no question regarding service reliability. Regarding chronic understaffing, we're meeting our customer needs. We don't have a lot of customers. Tuesday is the busiest day of the week. We have lots of numbers available. On Tuesday, May 13th, we had during the morning peak only 546 people on our buses going southbound into San Francisco. That same morning, a single ferry trip out of Larkspur carried 405 people. And the ones on either side of it carried over 300 half hour later. And that's just Larkspur, not including Angel Island, Tiburon, or Sausalito. So right or wrong, people are not going back into San Francisco yet. And we're keeping vacant positions because we hope they come back. But the board could decide to delete those vacant positions. It is true that while we're keeping the 285 in the books, for next fiscal year in the proposed budget, we budgeted 190 because we anticipate we'll have some ridership growth. But if we have greater ridership growth, we don't have to ask the board for the ability to hire more operators. But it's important to recognize we're in the customer service business. We're spending one-time COVID relief money this year, as we did last year, the year before, the year before. And so we're not going to run, your staff's not going to recommend, you can do as you wish, that we run empty buses or empty ferries because there's a perceived need based on a budgeted number of vacant positions. With respect to the pension, Mr. Weinstein is right that the pension is woefully underfunded. District employees participate in one of 4 pension plans based on their collective bargaining agreement. And this pension plan is unique in many, many ways. It does need an infusion of money, and during bargaining, for those drivers that are listening, I want folks to know that we're committed to fixing this pension. While legally not obligated for it, we feel we're morally obligated. And the pension has some governance issues that need to be addressed as well as additional money. Mr. Weinstein voted to remove the spousal subsidy a few months back, and so he could vote to remove the early retiree subsidy. You know, we have board members that participate in many pension plans. The United UFCW Northern California Employers Joint Pension Plan, doesn't allow unsubsidized survivors. If you retire and you check the box, you want your spouse to get your pension is reduced compared to a single person. The same applies for the UA Local 38 Joint Labor Management Pension Trust Fund. You also, if you're 50 years old with 30 years of service, you don't get the same monthly pension as someone who is 60 years old with 30 years of service. And so to say there's a $24 million give back we're seeking, we're asking the pension trustees to be fiduciaries and to not give away money where no contributions were received on behalf of somebody. You know, the National Elevator Industry Pension Benefit Plan does not give away money when you retire if you have a spouse. If you check the box for a spouse, you have a smaller monthly pension. And how small is tied to the age of your spouse. Because if you're a fiduciary, you pay attention to the experts that advise your pension, and you adopt policies so that the money coming in on behalf of a member, coupled with the earnings on that, is tied to the ultimate payout to that member and their survivor. That is something that has been lacking from this pension plan for decades. It took a lot of work to get this pension plan to finally implement a year of service credit. Up until a few years ago, if a bus driver on a weekend sadly got a DUI on their own time, they could not drive a bus for a year. They still received a year of pension credit. After much cajoling, we were able to negotiate that out. For the record, the pension plan trustees met yesterday, and one of the items on the agenda was to partially undo part of that. Other pension plans, their fiduciaries do not do that. So we are committed to fixing that pension plan. And for the record, the pension plan is not an item that's, authorized to be discussed, but we could construe it as such under this item because it's talk about vacancies. But we have enough bus drivers to get our service out every day. We do 505 trips every weekday. We're not missing trips. Our customers that choose to ride rate us a 4 or 5. And we look forward to downtown San Francisco coming back someday so we can have more bus service and more ferry service because we are in the bus and ferry and bridge business. And I gladly answer any questions that anyone may have with respect to the district's finances and why we choose to offer less bus and ferry service today as we did before the pandemic when downtown San Francisco had 150,000 more people in it each weekday.
Thanks, Dennis. Is there any questions of Dennis on this item? If not,
I have a question. Yeah. I have a question, Dennis. So a year ago, the actuary for the pension came before us. Our past president, Mike Terrio, brought him here. And he said that if all of the benefits were taken away from this pension, it would only fund it 1% more. At that time, I called for this district to fund the pension and to start giving money to the pension, which is underwater. It is funded at 45%. These are our drivers. This is our community, and these are our workers. So I just wanted to ask, what efforts have there been made to fund the pension? And, I don't think at this point trying to take more and more and more, if it's only going to fund it 1%, I'm not going to support taking things away from the drivers in a pension that what about the person who's relied on the pension for 29 years? They retire and then they have a different pension all of a sudden. And, another thing, when you look at the staffing and you talk about whether 280 positions, what strikes me in these documents is that we have, if you add up every other position that we don't have, right, filled right now, it's about 32 positions. I did a quick addition. I might be off by a few. And then you look at the bus drivers, 95 positions are open. And I get complaints on routes every single day that there is no bus. People cannot take it. And I understand this idea that, you want to make sure demand, but coupled with the fact that our drivers are not being paid competitive wages. And so let me just say one more thing. Since the day I got on this board, I have called for better labor relations. The idea of unions and management fighting, it just, most government agencies are not doing that right now. There's a path forward. And yes, there are negotiations over wages and benefits, but it's not 2 or 3 years of fighting over a wage increase, a yearly wage increase. So again, I'm going to call for better relations, streamlined negotiations, and also fully funding this pension and allowing us to hire drivers and look at routes, even if we do test routes and test demand. I think there are some options that we could all explore.
Thank you for your questions. I'd love to respond to a few of them. First off, with respect to wages, we have an hourly wage rate that masks how much we actually pay our drivers. We have a very complicated pay formula, and we did a presentation to our board last fall. But our average Gold Gate driver makes more than the average Muni driver or the average, Santa Rosa bus driver or Marine Transit bus driver or AC Transit bus driver or Samtrans driver. So our drivers are well compensated. You can go to the state controller's office or Transparent California, see how much people earn if they're a public employee in California. Transparency is great. And our average bus driver makes more than the average bus driver at these other agencies, some of who are in high cost areas. So to point to the hourly wage rate is to intentionally, I dare say, mislead. We have 28 collective bargaining agreements. We have good labor negotiations. We do not negotiate in public. And we currently have one group that we're negotiating with. They received a pay raise last September 1st, and that's the ATU Local 1575. And we look forward to having a new contract in place with them before the current contract expires. With respect to the pension, $24 million, what is alluded to there is the actuary said that if you stop giving away early retiree subsidy, that it would, quote, reduce the unfunded liability by $24 million over a period of time. So the policy question for the board is, do you want to ask your neighbors, your ratepayers, to pay $24 million in additional tolls so this pension plan offers an unfunded retiree subsidy that none of your pensions offer? Is that fair? Is that equitable? Because what we're talking about is toll dollars. If the people you represent want to pay more tolls for services, that's a pitch we make periodically. We make that pitch. But if we ask for something that no one else has, I just want to caution you that it may not be as well received. So the early retiree subsidy would reduce the unfunded liability of this pension plan. They removed it by $24 million. They just removed the spousal subsidy. So any questions about what they legally can or cannot do appear to have been answered by their past actions. And so the question for all of you is, how comfortable are you with respect to some of these items, knowing that everything we do costs money? Next year, we're looking at doing a deficit, and we're looking at spending the last for a one-time COVID relief money, and we're going to be spending money from your reserves. So the question for you is, should we protect our reserves for seismically retrofitting the bridge, or should we hire an extra 100 bus drivers when no one is going to San Francisco for some demand that currently does not exist? Unless people are swimming across, they're our customer. They're driving a car, they're riding their bike, they're taking our bus or taking our boat. So we know how many people go into San Francisco. And if there's a field of dreams, it needs to be built in San Francisco, and it needs to be incredibly successful for our business.
Secretary, could you outline our procedure that we will now follow to receive public comment?
Thank you. We're going to introduce the speakers one at a time, and if possible, we'd like to ask the speakers to state their name and organization. They're representing an organization, but it's not necessary. And then we're going to give everyone 3 minutes to comment and state the public comment. I'm going to start with the only one comment card I have in the room, which is for you, Mr. Weinstein. So I'm going to ask you to rejoin us here at the end of the table for your 3 minutes for public comment.
I had public comment in there because I didn't think that I did. I just want to respond to the buses being on time. First of all, this is a great representative of the bridge. This is a great system. The reason it's a great system and reliable is because the bus operators come to work and work their days off. If they didn't work their days off, what he is saying would not be accurate in any way, shape, or form. Okay? There's 68% of the people doing 100% of the work without day off work. We would be canceling service left and right. I assure you that. So think about those workers that are working those 7 days a week. As we say, we have great on-time performance. That's because they're showing up 7 days a week. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein. We have no more comment cards for the room, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch it over to the public comment line that's online. So, Justine, can you take it from here and introduce your first speaker on your end?
Absolutely. Our only speaker at this point until I poll later, if allowed, is Francis Gleason. Francis, go ahead, please.
Hello. I kind of don't know where to begin. I'm not there. I'm on the phone. I imagine all the directors are all sitting at a table looking at each other. So you may know my name's Francis Gleason. I've come before the board for the last 8 years. In fact, some of you may remember you had Dave, the security guy, take me out. Why was that? Oh, because I was talking about the pension. Now, I'm not going to get as long to talk about the pension as the general manager just did. However, when you guys had me taken out because I was very upset that you guys were laughing at me when I was talking about the pension, it was 68% funded. 45% funded now. I'm not laughing. I hope you're not laughing. At that time, there was a few of you who said, oh, we're losing sleep. Well, you know who's losing sleep? Me. I'm about to retire. I'm going to lose sleep now. And as you can tell, I'm a little pissed off because I'm listening to this banter going on, and it's all fake. And I'm not Trumpian. I'm saying that you're not being told the truth. Do you know that our pension we've given in as drivers, we decided to pay more percentage into our pension? Every hour that we work, we put in 7%, and the new guys put in 8.25. And you know what that means? That we're hourly employees. But because the general manager wanted to save money, we're actually classified as daily employees. So every hour we pay into the pension isn't counted. Only 8 hours is. Look at the director. Look at the general manager. He's sitting there. You're sitting there. It's true. We're only getting counted 8 hours a day. And that's because he wanted it. But you know what? Everybody who works there is putting in 10, 11, 12 hours into the pension. But we're only getting counted 8. Look at him. Because that's what's going on. And it's the truth. And if he wants to, he can deny it after I speak. The other thing is, I'm really happy that he congratulated the bus drivers. He was saying that we had a world-class bus system. He even said, I think it was 4 out of 5 points by some rating agency. That's because of the drivers. That's because of the drivers. And every day I go into work, you know what's on my door, the glass door I go into work? Day off workers needed. Every day. Every day. Why? Because you don't have enough drivers. But you guys are sitting here at a meeting that's purposely set up by the state legislative body to tell everyone what you're doing for hiring, and you got false numbers. You got 275 on the books. Really, you don't have it. So you say you got 190. You don't have that. You got 151. Present the seniority list. Any of you can ask for the seniority list. The amount of drivers that are available to work is 151, and these are people who are here all the time. And you know what they're saying? You know what they're telling you? That's false. You guys got to look across the table at each other. It's you. You have no legislative oversight. You're all appointed, and none of you are really stepping up to the plate to help your employees, to help the public, and you're just constantly being given false numbers, and you eat them like candy. You guys are nuts. And I'm tired of trying to be complacent and talk to you guys nicely, because it doesn't matter. Most of you go get in your cars now. You've been to one meeting.
Mr.
I've been to two, exhausted. So I am gonna finish. Thank you guys for listening to this, and I hope to God one of you guys has.
Mr. Gleason, we're at our 3 minutes.
Step forward. Okay, step forward, somebody. Bye bye.
I would like to poll the room if that would be okay, in case someone else has joined us that would like to speak.
Sure, go right ahead.
Perfect, thank you. Is there anyone else that's joined us that would like to speak this morning? Please press * to unmute yourself and give me your name. Again, if you'd like to speak this morning, please press * to unmute yourself and give me your name.
John Holden would like to speak.
Thank you, John. Hold on one moment. Is there anybody else that would like to speak this morning? Please use * to unmute yourself and let me know. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody. John, go ahead. You'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, my name's John Holden. I'm a native San Franciscan. I'm a bus operator. I used to work in the waste industry. I worked in sustainability. I have a couple comments regarding putting service out. I've met with a few people at Spur and others who look at the numbers, and it's kind of the chicken and the egg argument. So it's kind of like, well, you'll put the buses if the people are there, but the buses aren't there, so the people aren't there. So I don't know, have an answer for that, but it is one of those complexing arguments. What do you do first? And if I was a San Francisco representative looking at trying to bring back San Francisco, I would try to look at everything that we can do to bring back San Francisco. So that's one comment. The other comment is about retention. Mona, the previous manager, put in a program where to eliminate barriers to employment. I was a little concerned because the safety and the experience and safety requirements were lowered. And there has been kind of a mixed bag. There's been some real successes. One employee hasn't missed a day of work, but there have been ones that have a DUI while the day after graduating class on probation and keep their employment. I don't think that's the kind of thing we want. My big concern is safety, because, I see, people looking at their phones while the bus is rolling on the side with their texting. And, with one of those gigantic buses are rolling down the freeway and the traffic stopped and they're distracted, it could be a huge fatality. And so, that's where my heart lies, and I'm concerned about not wearing the seatbelts, because if the driver's thrown from the seat, he loses control of the bus. I understand that you want to push through members of the class if they have a pulse. You want them to go through. Those were comments made by upper management, but I don't think I could live with myself not saying anything about the possible catastrophe that might have. And in closing, I would say that the district is a great place to work. It's an iconic bridge. I've been privileged to work there, and I would just say that hopefully the bridge and the union can come together to kind of resolve some of these issues and make it a less toxic and better place to work. Thank you.
That is all the speakers that we have this morning on my line. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right. Public comment portion of the public hearing is now closed. Madam Secretary, please summarize the next step process.
Thank you. We're going to close the public comment period today at 4:30, May 23rd, and staff will evaluate all comments and any comments received after that and present a report of the public hearing in June. And if necessary, any recommendations will also be presented to the appropriate committee at that time.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all for joining us today. This concludes the public hearing. The time is 11:45.